All right, everybody. Here we are. We're on the countdown to the end of the 12 days of Christmas. We are on day 9. I got this one right. So if you're wondering about the live being behind me, that would be Dixie. This is what happens when I'm gone all day. So she decided she's going to join us for a little bit this evening, and that's where she put herself. So if she's happy, I'm happy. And we got dogs on with us tonight. So it wasn't even necessarily planned. We usually don't have Dixie with us for the evening. Come here, Doodles. There you go. You want to say hello? Oh, I say hello to everybody. Wave. Hi. So, again, everybody, thank you so much for being with us for the 12 days of Christmas. I can't thank everybody enough, as I always do every time, for all of your feedback and telling me how much you appreciate the programming. And I appreciate hearing from you as well. I'm trying to stay serious as the pigs are coming in. And I don't know if anybody can hear them, but it's like the pig parade over to the left of me here, because we all came screaming in from an early dinner to be able to be back here for Zooming with all of you. So, with that, we've got another great program again tonight that, of course, well, I'm super excited about every night. I want to make sure that I thank everybody who is watching the recordings. That is wonderful to also see and hear as well. I know many of you can't always be with us every evening, but at the same time, for those of you that have been, thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing how much you appreciate the programming. And, keep it in mind. You guys can also help me in terms of maybe people that you'd like to see on next year, because I think at this point, I'm sort of in this, right? So there's going to be a 4th annual, and it'll be fun to start to get that lineup. And usually I kind of take the opportunity as people that I meet throughout the year and as work relationships develop, or maybe people that I cheer for as we've met. And Crystal's a perfect example of somebody that I got better acquainted with this year, started doing some work together, and immediately I was like, you need to be on the 12 Days of Christmas with me. So excited to have this come to fruition finally. Couple of housekeeping things before we roll into it. I know you guys are getting tired of having me repeat it afterwards over and over, but I got to remember, maybe one person will be watching this for the first time, and then maybe they just can't get to another recording. So we want to make sure you have all the information that you need here. So right off the bat, don't forget you still have a couple of days left to take advantage of my 50% off skincare that I am offering to everybody for the 12 days of Christmas. So remember, that code is TDOC 2450. I know Erin will continue to remind you throughout the program to be able to make sure you capture that code and utilize it if you so choose. Now, remember, if you also pick up any of the other things that might be on the site, whether it is the Wild Fibers lecture series, which I've sort of lost count how many of you have already jumped on for that. Maybe if you jump on for the 4th annual Life and Rainbows knit along with Kimberly McAlinden, which I think we are already at least about 24, 25, which for a soft launch, of which you guys haven't even seen what we're knitting. Amazing. But I know you have faith in us, and you love the team. And so we're excited to have you on board, but I've got some big news for those of you that are already on board, so I'll get to that. But remember, all of these things, you guys can put that in your cart along with using the code for the 50% off skincare. So thank you again to everybody who has been jumping on board. And all of the drops that we've kind of had along the way. Now, if you were not with us last night, I will still say there is yarn left from the collab that we did with Shanna from Lamb Strings Yarns. So definitely go and check that out if you missed it. Absolutely beautiful. And I purposely have not posted anything on my stories just to try to give everybody a little more time. I know some people were maybe waiting to see about the pattern drop that I said the 2 yarns could go together, of which, might I add, this lady here even grabbed a skein for herself. I text her today. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you buying yarn?
Wanted it before it was gone.
She's like, I want to do my own version. So I'm just excited to be able to get to all of that. The big news that I want to let you guys know about, I just got word today that all of the fiber that I brought to Bat and Kill. Remember, 2 nights ago, we had a great conversation with MJ Parker from Bat and Kill Fibers, and I brought, I don't even know how many pounds of wool. Essentially, there's 3 or 4 different batches of yarn that I had her do, and they are all done. I could not be any more excited. I was only hoping for one batch. So this is that yarn that I've got for you guys for the knit along. I'm going to be picking it up on Friday. I'm going to be getting up at the crack of dawn, getting up there to get it and coming back home. And Kimberly and I are in discussion. I think here's what I'm going to do. So keep this in mind. We are doing community night a week late, because next Wednesday we have our Crafting with Cotswold class. So community night will be after that. For anybody who is new, the second Wednesday usually of every month, we do our community night, and it's just a get together, kind of like this. So hopefully those of you that are new will start to join us for that. My original thought was that I was going to reveal the yarn for community night, but I want to make it even more special. So those of you that have jumped on board already and have registered for the knit along, you are going to get a separate email. You're going to get a separate Zoom code, and probably either that Monday or Tuesday, 13th, 14th, I don't know, whatever those dates are, we're going to have a private Zoom shopping with the brand new yarns, so that if anybody wants to grab something before we take it to Vogue Knitting Live and before the people on community night see it, you guys will get first crack. So I told you as VIPs, that was something we were going to offer. I thought I was going to have one batch. I'm going to have 3. So I'm super excited to be able to share that with you guys. So I wanted to get that out before I forgot. I'm going to keep it brief with regards to our keepsake basket here, but I do want to show you what we have added to it from Crystal. Now remember, for every $10 that you spend with us, you get 1 ticket that goes in for the keepsake basket. And even doing the knit along, and even doing the lecture series with Linda Courtwright, even doing the Crafting with Cotswold class, all of that is all included, in addition to the yarn that some of you scooped up last night and the skincare you've been scooping up. So this is going to be a heavily stacked basket. But remember, you just need 1 ticket in order to win, and you don't have to be there to win it. So we will announce that on our wrap-up party, which is the last night of the 6th. Also, Crystal, don't let me forget, by the end of our program, I'm going to ask you to pick a number based on how many participants are with us. You're going to pick a number, and then that person in my lineup of participants is going to get a $20 store credit to shop with us at Life. So I don't want to forget that, because sometimes I get carried away with my content.
Okay.
So that's going to be your thing that you're going to do before we wrap up. You get to help us select that. So all of the things you guys have been hearing every night about the keepsake basket, we're going to be adding, I guess, well, we're going to be doing 2 things. With the keepsake basket, honestly, there's just a bunch of really fun goodies in here. I can't wait to talk about Crystal's subscription box, and I can't wait to see how many of you ended up jumping on board for the first time. I can't wait to see how many of you just learned about it for the first time, because that's what this is all about. But there's always really fun things in her box, of which I got gifted some stuff too. I was super excited to open that. So there is a stitch marker set that is specifically for Factory Girl designs from Katrinkles. There is some awfully cute, I don't even think I looked at all of this stuff. This little.
You want to come back up?
Oh, knitting needle point protectors with your cute little logo on it.
Keep logo.
I know, it's adorable. There's tea towels in here with sheep on it. There is also, which that was really fun too, the bitters that I got, and then there was like a little drink recipe with it. I was like, way to go, so cool. So there's a drink recipe here, and some other fun things that are in here. So all of that is compliments of Crystal. Now, in addition, she's got a big thing for you. So I'm going to let you tell everybody, Crystal, if you've got it all in front of you. Otherwise, Erin can also drop it into the chat, and she will continue to remind everybody. But why don't you let everybody know what you have for them?
So Erin did drop it in the chat. Thank you. That
Good.
was perfect. But I wanted to offer all of you 15% off anything on my website. So whether there's a pattern you really like, or there might be one of the maker's tools, or even for a maker's box, whether it's a single box or a subscription, if you use the code it's life LIYF 12, that will get you 15% off whatever you drop in your cart. And I think that's, yeah, through the 13th of January. So if you find anything, go ahead and grab it. And then we have the new pattern too, which we can talk about, which I'm wearing my version of right now. It's we'd used a darker yarn, so it's a little bit harder to see in.
You know what's so funny though, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to interrupt you. You can interrupt
Yeah.
me. Unintentionally, a discussion about black yarn happened last night with Shanna because she was saying how much she loved knitting with it and deep colors. So then we were talking about that. So anyone who was with us last night also knew what was coming. They just hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
So we're definitely
Well,
going to be, talking in more detail about it. So I hate to tell you, but let's not go into detail totally right now about it. Let's
okay,
make them wait. Let's make them wait.
fine.
I
But
know, I
that's
know.
available now too. So
What's that?
I said, but the pattern's available now too.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And at the same time, you guys know, again, if you were with us last night or for anybody watching, anytime you purchase the appropriate amount of yarn, from me, then I will gift you the pattern and then compliment, compensate Crystal for it. So just keep that in mind. You kind of have options, whatever it is that you'd like to do. So I want to make sure that they know that. So, but I feel like that's our thing. So we're gonna hold that. We're gonna
Okay,
get into some
fine.
meat
That
and
works.
potatoes first. I like to do that to people, not always intentionally, but they got to stick around for something. Come on.
It
It
is
can't just be
entertainment though
our
too.
good looks and good conversation.
All right,
All
ask
right. So
away.
let's say, at this point, we're already kind of rambling here. I'm sure by now you guys know who we're speaking with tonight. It's Crystal Hiatt from Factory Girl Designs. Of course, we're going to get into, how we met and the work we've been doing. But I have so many questions, of course, because I mean, I kind of barely know you. I mean, but that's what is always the case. And that's what's so fun about these things. And I'm not really sure which direction you want to go in because there's so many different facets to your life, which is so cool. So we're just going to see where it rolls. But what I always say is if somebody you meet somebody for the first time and they're like, who are you? So how do you introduce yourself, describe yourself in terms of like what you do, what is it, in a couple sentences, how do you kind of like roll it all up into one as far as who Crystal Hiatt is?
It's a hard, that honestly is, and I also don't like that term when I use that, but that's one of the hardest things to do because I I just wear a lot of different hats, and so it's like, who am I today? But I'm Crystal Hyatt. I
Mhm.
live in Minnesota. I was born and raised here, and I'm a fairly new knitter. I've been knitting for about 13 years, as long as my local yarn shop has been in town. But in addition to being a knitter and a designer, also a factory girl, and that's how my brand name came to be, because I've grown up in manufacturing my pretty much my entire life. My parents started a manufacturing business here in Minnesota when I was 8 years old, and I've been working in that for most of my life. And I've worked for other manufacturers in the country too, but came back in 2004 back to Minnesota to work for my family business. And during that time, that's also when I learned how to knit, which was, I like to tell people, it was actually a lifesaver for me. I was traveling constantly for my job on the road, whether I was flying places, driving places, wherever, in airports, in hotels by myself a lot of the time for most of the year. And I was just getting stressed out with all of that and the ups and downs, and just not having, I didn't have a good outlet for anything that was going wrong, or what to do, or like things that would happen bad. And just life in general, like I just didn't have that community around me. And so I discovered knitting, and that was like, it just became a passion because it gave me something to do with my hands, settled my mind, but also opened up a whole community of friends and people while I was on the road and not really able to establish those relationships in my hometown where I came back to. So it's become a little bit of everything for me. And I still, and then all of that eventually evolved into designing too. But Sherry asked, what do I
I was
manufacture?
just yeah, I was just gonna say because I'm like
So
we could go back
uh,
to that and then nobody ever
yeah,
just like falls into knitting or finds out about knitting. So I also want to hear more detail about that. So, but yeah, first
yeah.
talk about your family business and what you
Right.
manufacture.
So we're a contract manufacturer where we make products that are used in other things that all of us use in our everyday lives. So, but we also over the years have had our own product lines too that are sold in retail stores like Lowe's and Tractor Supply and Home Depot and your local Ace Hardware or Do It Best hardware stores too. Those products were bird feeders and lawn and garden products. So you may own a bird feeder, a hummingbird feeder, or a bird feeder that we at one point had made. We sold that part of our business about 8 years ago, but we've always been a contract manufacturer. So, like Tabitha on her farm, and if any of you have farm animals, you may have a de-icer that you throw into your water tanks. We make this metal cage that goes around the heating element for those who manufacturers who make that. And we also make components that are used in your refrigerators, your um, stoves, ovens, car seats, fitness equipment. And we also make things that are used in retail. So, like peg hooks or sign brackets that you might see in the stores that, or hooks that have your items hanging on the shelves. So, just a variety. We work in almost every single industry we're making products for other people.
And is it just with metal or not necessarily?
Primarily with metal, with steel, can either be flat steel or round steel. And then we do a little bit with wood, but not much. I guess the parts that we do with wood are some merchandising displays, but then we also have another facet of our business that is restoration for auto restoration products. So people might need, we just finished a project with for I don't even remember the year, but it was an old Pierce Arrow car, one of these really fancy old cars from the 20s, and it had a vanity mirror. So instead of having the mirrors we have now when you flip down your visor and there's a mirror there, there was actually a mirror in the middle of the car that had these doors that open, and then there was a mirror so that you could like check your makeup and everything to make sure you looked good before you got out of your car. And that was all made out of wood and metal. So we just did one of those that went into a vehicle. But
I mean, I know it's not knitting related, but I'm so curious because I feel like this is one of those things that somewhere along the way you're like, who gets into that? Or how does that happen? Or how do you get those jobs? Like it just, like you said, it's something that's so vital, so important, but yet, like nobody grows up saying, I want to have a manufacturing company that does all these little very important things.
right.
So I mean, is it a short story of how your family fell into it, or just in terms of even like how all these different jobs get sourced out by you, or
Yeah, so like we find I'll never forget. Um, growing up, I would go to the library with my dad before we purchased our own version of a Thomas Register. And I'd sit at the library and flip through every single state in the Thomas Register to find businesses that might be manufacturers that could potentially be a customer for us. And then you just sit and call them and send them letters. Like that was back in the 80s. And early 90s, and then like late to mid 90s is when the World Wide Web happened, and then slowly and slowly into the 2000s you could find things online. But it was all, it was calling people and like going to some shows. There are metal manufacturing shows around the country and different industry shows. So we make our company's name is Hiatt Metal Forming, And we also make a product. This is our own product that's used in food packaging. And so like you can go to food packaging or plastic bag trade shows and you find people that way. So it's just I don't know. It's a lot of cold calling and a lot of cold calling. And then people find us too. Like they'll find us by word of mouth from another customer in their area and give us a
Mhm.
call, or they'll find us online and then send a quote into us and then we go to business that way. But the business started first it in my dad's a tool and die designer. He went to vocational school to be a tool and die designer. So he designed tools that make parts on different machines. And he worked for a number of companies before he came to Winona, and he worked for a tire chain company called Peerless Chain, who's still in business today. If your husbands or you go out and buy chain at the hardware store, it often says Peerless Chain, and that's in my town too. So he worked for them, and while he was testing a new design in a local ice manufacturer company, in our town, he was testing a plastic case to make sure it would hold up to below 0 temperatures. He kept seeing all these wire parts on the ground and was like, I finally asked the guy, like, what is this stuff? He's like, oh, we use these to pack our bags of ice. And my dad's like, so where do you buy them? He's like, from Georgia, and we're in Minnesota. And he's like, so you just keep buying them over and over again? And he's like, yeah. But it's like, if I could make those for you, would you buy them from me? He goes, well, sure, give me a price. Let's see. And then that is how things all just kind of steamrolled. And then it's
Yeah.
grown and changed and evolved over this coming April. We celebrate 40 years, and our business has worn many, many different hats and been through a lot of different things. But it just, you just like any business, as you know, too, you have to diversify and change and roll and make new things. So yeah, that's what
So, and you came back to the family business. So obviously
I
you grew up in the
did.
family business, you came back to the family business.
Yes.
And was there a particular impetus of why that happened or?
I I worked for General Electric out of college, and I worked in 4 of their different businesses during about a 4.5 year period. Wonderful company. I learned so much. I had some great opportunities, but I realized I wanted to work in a smaller environment and I wanted to have more control over, or more, felt like not so much control, that may not be the right word, but more of an input into a business and where it goes and where it leads. And being in a large company, it's that's harder to do. And I just kept hitting I was in a marketing path, which was great, but I really wanted to be on the business development path and more the managerial path. And I just couldn't, I kept hitting walls everywhere I was going. So I was like, you know what? It's time for a change.
Well,
And
and what better way to get, in a sense, what you're looking for by going
yeah,
back to your family
I
business?
know. Well, and it just worked out. My dad needed somebody at that time, and it was in the right area that I wanted to go to. I
Yeah.
was looking at other businesses too. I wasn't sure really that I was ready to come back. I always knew I wanted to. Of my
I was
sister,
going to say you should have made him headhunt you.
yeah. Yeah, right. Of all I have 2 younger sisters, and neither of them, we've all grew up working, but they wanted to do different things, and which is great. I mean, my parents all encouraged us to go work for other people, try other things before, because they're like, we don't want you to feel pigeonholed that you have to come back here.
Sure,
You
sure.
need to make that choice on your own. So I had to go through the interviewing process to come back to work for my parents. So it wasn't like, oh, here's a job for you. It was like, here, come interview with all these other people that work for us, and then they can decide whether you're the right fit or not. So I don't
Good.
it was interesting, but I'm glad I came back. It all works out well. It's been hard. Um, Working with your parents and for your parents is not always the easiest thing. Learning how to separate church and state took a little bit of time, and but it's been amazing. And they're retired now. So they're enjoying,
Like,
retirement.
so then that's even easier, right? Or no?
Kind of, they're still on the board of directors, so I still can't. you know, they still have a say in everything, which is perfect. I wouldn't want it any, I love
Right.
that.
Right.
I love having their mentorship. So
So, okay, you all this traveling and everything, I get it. In terms of, I mean, look, I'm on the road quite a bit. I love it. I mean, it's for somebody and it's not for somebody, but if
yeah.
you have to do it regardless. So, but I guess I'm always just curious because there's a million and one things that somebody could pick up as a hobby. So, like, what was it for you? Like, what light bulb went off? Where were you? Did you know somebody that was knitting? Because you just don't fall into a yarn store, so can you recall, just in terms of like how you fell into knitting, or how you got bit by the bug, as opposed to, I don't know, some other hobby.
I know. Well, my grandma knit and crocheted. One of my grandma Millie did. And
That's why your email address is Millie's
yeah,
Knit
Millie's Knit
Design.
Designs. Yeah.
Because
So that
that
was my
came through
previous.
today at first. I didn't realize it was you until I opened it up, and then I was like, what?
Yes. So I was branded previously as Millie's Knits Design because my grandma Millie was the one who really introduced me to fiber. She would knit or she would crochet, and I loved sitting at her kitchen table when she would do that and talk to her and learn stories and hear about, her childhood growing up. And she was left-handed though. So I asked her to teach me. She tried so hard. I tried hard. I just couldn't get it. And I'm right-handed and we just struggled with that. So it never happened. Um, but that was where my first name came from, and then I changed it a couple years ago. But um she was the reason, and I happened to be at a friend's house when I was home for a bit, and she was knitting, and I just mentioned her. I'm like, God, always wanted to learn how to knit. And she's like, oh, this yarn store just opened in town. She's like, I don't want to teach you, but you can probably go there to learn. Because she knit a little bit differently than what she always would knit through. I don't even know what she did, but it was always like a twisted stitch. It was just different. And, she's like, "I don't wanna teach you my way because it's not the right way, but go to the yarn shop." So I popped in there and one day randomly and signed up for a class, and then it just was like it literally one, going into a store for the first time, a local yarn shop rather than going to, Hobby Lobby and Joann's, and those places all have so many wonderful options too. But being in a little store that had like all these beautiful things, beautiful yarns, beautiful trinkets and bags, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I was obsessed." So I had my first class and I was like, "Okay, what do I need?" And so I got all my stuff, and it just so happened I had my first class right before I was taking a trip to China. So I was like, well, I need a project
There's
and I
no
need
way.
I need all the things so I have enough to do for, the 2 weeks that I'm going to be gone. And and that was funny. But anyways, I got a bag and I got some chunky Malabrigo yarn and I picked out a free pattern. It was called the Gaptastic Cowl, and a seed stitch pattern, knitting around. And I was like, perfect, I'm set. I got my needles, I was ready to go. So, which was it was fabulous. I was so glad to learn how to knit. And but anyways, the one thing I forgot to ask during the knitting class was, what does it mean to knit in the round? Had no idea. And back at this time, I really didn't even think about going on YouTube or anything like that. So I was like, well, I'll just knit and purl like it says to do for the whole thing. And so I knit it all flat and then I like mattress stitched it up, and came home, I was so excited. And they're like, "Oh, Crystal, it's beautiful, but" so
It
this
would be kind of
I
like,
know.
I'm trying to picture flat and then folding it this way
Yeah.
and then seaming it.
Yeah. I know. I don't know. It
You know,
works. It was
I feel
fine.
like I see people wearing hats like that these days, where the top is kind of like squared off, and you might have
Yeah.
been ahead of your time.
So it was great. But I knit a few more after that in the right way, and I learned how to knit in the round. It was great.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Madeline is saying that she thinks you're her soulmate, and that she failed at knitting under her grandmother's.
Oh. I know.
It's
It's
great to always like, see people sort of commiserate and,
yeah.
like,
We
hey,
all
we've all
have
been there too,
I
right?
know we all have a story of something that happened, either learning to knit or learning a new technique that you just did it, you just failed. And but you learned and we move on.
But it wasn't really a fail. I mean,
No,
you were knitting. It just was flat and not round. No.
but
I
I
mean,
made
and
it
it's
round.
funny. I will. So my dear friend, one of my besties and llamas. When I was in the early days of learning to knit, which I know everyone, I don't spend a lot of time knitting, but there's a beginning for everybody. And I will never forget. I was in Pennsylvania at my friend's farm, kind of calling, and this was again, before FaceTime and things, calling, my mentor back home because I was just trying to knit flat as well. And there was a stitch maybe about 5 down that clearly I dropped. And I swore that thing, it was just laughing at me and it was glaring at me. And my friend was like, just move on, like keep going. I was like, I can't, because that's my personality. I was like, I can't. I was obsessing over this one little stitch that I swear was just like yelling at me, of course, to the tune of I think in the beginning, I used to rip out every project like 5 times before I could manage to go on. And we're not talking about complicated. So, I know that feeling, and I vividly remember it. It was just that instance that I vividly remember that one because it just probably struck me as being so funny, that
Melanie's
I
like,
kind of
don't leave me hanging down here.
was. It was like, you messed up. I was like, I don't know how to fix you. That was before I was even going to dare try to, like, go back and pull it in or something. Who knows?
I
But
know. It still happens to me. All of a sudden I'll be like, what the heck? Like, there's this one little guy just floating down here. I'm like, shoot, what did I do?
now I can just be like,
I
I
know.
I was just gonna say, or either that, or I'll just get out like my needle felting needle, and I'll just be
Oh
like,
yeah.
and I just stab
And
it
then
back
make a
in.
new stitch up above.
I'm like, you're good. Nobody sees you. But I think so. Kind of like, of course, moving us forward in this. So clearly, you do not need to make knitting your job. You have a job. You have a career, right? So I think the thing that I wanted to get into most about tonight was, what was it for you of which you took it from a hobby to adding it as a side gig? And I don't mean that as an insult, calling it a
Yeah.
side gig. You just clearly have a whole real big job. And not that your knitting isn't a real job, because actually, quite frankly, not only is it a side gig, but then we're going to get into your pattern designing and your subscription boxes. And so, like, you're not just like, hey, I knit this and I'm selling it. So how did that, I don't know, just talk to me about the why,
Evolution.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, or really, I think the why, right? And that's maybe just your personality. I'm not sure, because I don't want to say you clearly don't need to do that, but it doesn't seem like you need to, but you want to. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I don't need to, but I love it. And it's so I have my family's business, which is absolutely amazing. And I love that I'm what I do every single day. But I've always wanted something of my own that I started from the ground up and could was my own and be successful at and not necessarily because this it is my side gig. Um it's not something that pays the bills, but it's something that helps me continue to dig deeper and further into my passion of fiber. And it also allows me to continue to bring and create new things and introduce people to other makers and other companies that to help build our community, to build our fiber community, and to also support other small businesses. So initially I got into designing well, one, the very first thing started was one of my sisters was getting married and she wanted this wrap to wear over her shoulders in the evening of her wedding. And she had found some different things online that she liked, but it wasn't quite exactly what she wanted, and of course not the right colors. So that she the right white that she wanted. And I was like, okay, let me see if I can find yarn for you in this. But she asked me to make her something. And so that was my very first forage into creating something
For your
from
sister.
for my sister from the ground up. So, that and by being able to do that, which I really had no idea what I was doing, but it all came together and it was beautiful. And if I would have been thinking earlier, I would have grabbed a picture to show you guys what it looked like. But then with that too, it was also as I kept knitting, I also started test knitting for other designers. And because I just wanted to, I'm one of these people that I love to learn. I love learning new things. I love learning about like how people do things. This is where the manufacturing mind goes. Like, how do you
And
make that?
Jerry was saying earlier in the comments, Jerry Barnes, she was,
Yeah.
saying she's in a similar field and how much like math and just all of that, meaning in terms of what you do for your day job, and what you do in knitting and how much that correlates to one another.
Yes. Yeah, it all does. It's so much. And more than most people really think, especially for designing. Like there's so much math involved in it. And I'm not a math person. It is not my forte, but I've learned to embrace it and and enjoy it more. But so I guess all part of that, it was like as I was test knitting for people, I was also like, these just aren't quite right. Or what if you could do this? Or what if you could do that? Or I'd really love a sweater that fit this way. Or I'd love a cowl or a shawl that looked like this. So I just kind of started dabbling and doing my own thing. And then that's when I first, I think it was 2008, no, 18, that I first released my first patterns. And they
Okay.
were mainly accessories. And then I'm also a larger female. I'm very busty and I'm a little bit on the bigger side. And that was another thing. I wasn't finding sweater patterns that were designed to that could fit me, and it required a lot of modifications. And there's amazing designers that I mean, there's so many designers that I love and adore. But I just was who I was finding at the time wasn't meeting what I was looking for. And so I started doing a lot of research and reading books and just trying to learn more about fit and how I could customize things to better fit my body. And then that led into starting to get into sweater designing and and so that I could have things that I wanted and loved that fit me, but then also include instructions so that other people, depending on if you were broad shouldered or you had larger biceps or you needed bust darts or whatever it might be, or short torso versus
To
long.
laugh at the larger biceps, you know that.
I know.
It's not a joke. I
It's
can't wear a
not.
lot of my clothes anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, yeah, and you have to be able to accommodate for that. And it's just, it's not, we all have different shapes in that. So to be able to offer some recipes within a pattern so that you can better customize it to fit you, and where you are today, then it just makes that whole process so much more enjoyable. So, so that's kind of the evolution, if that helps, if that answers it, of how I got into
No,
design.
it does. And of course, I want to delve further, but I also want to give you the opportunity to say, Yona's asking if
Yeah,
the sweater that you're wearing is yours.
it is. Yes.
Of course
This
it
is
is.
my moonlit sprig
Can
pattern.
you sort of like stand up a little bit? I know it's never a good picture. I get
I
it.
know it's always bad. Well,
I
and
get
I'm in a big chair that doesn't allow me to. But there's like a little twisted stitch for the raglan seam. And then this version, I did not do the fold over collar, the neckband, where I have another version back here. The pattern calls for that. And I did shorter sleeves with a bracelet sleeve. There's short rows in the back, and then it also has a high-low hem, which is totally optional because some people like it cropped and others like it to have a little bit, like I like a little bit of a, flap in the back to
In
help
the
cover
back,
the
but a crop, a little crop in the
a
front.
little cropped in the front, a
And
little longer in the
yeah.
back. Um, but yeah, so this is my moonlit sprig sweater. And then yeah. Yeah.
And so, guys, kind of while we're sort of on that, I would love, just as we're chatting, please do me a favor. And again, do not feel bad. If you did not know who Crystal was before I launched 12 Days of Christmas, please let us know in the chat because that's the whole reason for this platform. Now, I know some of you might have seen some earlier posts that I did where I was promoting the box, and in which then I know, which I'm not saying, it's me, but I was just really excited that once I posted it, then she was like, okay, they're all gone now. And I was like, yay, team.
Oh, yay, Ruth Ann.
So, yes. And Ruth Ann, actually, I will say, is one of the ones that was texting me earlier and we were talking about it. So, again, so good to see all of this. This is why we do this. And, not only do I think so many people bring different things to the table, but I, there's just good people too, right? So I'm so excited to see that so many people have been introduced to you, just as a result of that. And I did get some behind the scenes comments, so that's kind of why I wanted to like spoon feed this because everybody needs flowers, right? Everybody needs a little like, hey, you're new to me, but excited about this. And that's even just through the 12 days of Christmas, as many people have now jumped onto my page and have heard about me from other people that I brought on. So I think that's the best part about this community. And I just was so excited. I mean, anybody also, too, I know there's a couple of you at least that are on tonight that ended up grabbing the box that Crystal put together, that Kimberly and I were a part of. I feel like we're kind of like the new trio, which I was like so excited about.
I'm so excited. And for any of you who are on here that did order the box, I know Ruth Ann, you did, and they are going to be shipping on Tuesday next week. So with the holiday, I got a little behind with the first box, but I'm sending on an email too. So
Oh, yeah.
and
I'm like
no,
trying to and
yeah,
yes, the discount code is
it's
oh
only it's
on your
only good on my website.
web. Okay.
Um, so sorry. But
No.
if there's something that you see on Ravelry that's not on my website, send me a note and I can make sure that I help you out that way. Because I know there's a few older patterns that I haven't had the time to. I'm a one-woman show. I mean, Sophie's my coworker, but she's
Yeah, well,
not very good
without
with the
thumbs,
computer.
I was just gonna say, do you know how many times I am running around this house like a freaking mad woman, and there's my two pigs sleeping on the bed. There's my dog sleeping over there, and I'm like, excuse me, anybody? Can anybody be helpful? Anybody? Can anybody do anything?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
So
So
I've been
clearly, I was just gonna say I've said enough, and before like the chat blows up about the damn box. So not only has Crystal delved into knitting, not only has she become a designer, which I do want to circle back at some point because I think there's a lot of people out there that probably have equal talents and don't yet have the, I'm going to say it as courage, sorry, to be able to say, I can do this and call themselves as a designer. So that is something, if we manage to circle back to, I think is so important for people to hear where you found that confidence to be able to do that. But before everybody blows their mind, not only did you do all of that, now you're like, yes, let's make a subscription. And of which I'm equally interested because it's something that's always been in the back of my mind. I feel like we did something similar last year when we did our Life on Long Island collection, our natural dye collection. I talked to you about that. It was not only like the yarn, and then there were little things that went with it. So, talk to everybody about where this idea came from, because again, you don't have enough to do. So where did the idea come from? What is it so that people can get involved? Because I know the first one is already sold out, correct?
Yes, it is. The first one's already sold out, which will be leaving my office next week. But so the maker's box, well, all right. One thing about me, I I love to shop. I have a shopping problem thanks to my mom. In fact, little fun fact, I loved to skip school growing up, and my mom was like a great co-conspirator, and she would be like, I'd be like, oh, I just don't want to go to school today. She goes, I'm gonna go to Rochester, go shopping. You want to go? I'm like, yes. So she called the school and be like, Crystal has a doctor's appointment today. She won't be in. And
Just you, not your sisters.
I just me.
Wait, now where do you fit in? Is it just
I'm the oldest.
okay?
I have
So
a
it's just the three of
youngest.
you.
Yep, there's just the three of us. But like, well, my middle sister was very studious. She never wanted to miss school. So fine. We were all graduated with like we were all smart girls. Like we all graduated with great grades. But myself and my youngest sister, who's 10 years younger than me, so she was like a baby back then. Um, we love to skip school. But anyways, so I go shop. I love shopping. We'd window shop or we'd shop for the house. We'd redecorate our bathroom or whatever. And so anyways, long story. I love to shop. But the other thing that I love to do, similar to you, Tabitha, is like bring people together. I love creating community, whether it's in my local community or online or wherever it may be. I love throwing on like events and I just love stuff like that. Anything to bring people together. So I was kind of in like I reached a point in 23 where I was just like I need something different. I need a change. Like I'm just not like it just wasn't feeling it.
2023? No.
2023.
Okay. Okay. So recently.
Recently, yeah, because the Maker's Box started in January of 2024.
Oh,
So
okay. So it's new.
it's new. We're only on
Okay.
year two. But so I came up with this brainchild in I don't know, August or September of 23. And so I decided, okay, let's do this. Let's put this together. And for the very first box, I was so lucky to connect with some really amazing people. Shelly Anderson, one of them as the dyer, who I had these relationships with to help me pull this together in such a short period of time. And then it just kind of grew from there. But I wanted to, Julie, I read your note. You hate to shop. I'll be your personal shopper. Just let me know. um,
That'll be her third side job.
I'm really good at it. Um, but anyways, I just thought it would be so neat to we have so many amazing businesses in the fiber world. And yes, you can still order the boxes. I'll get to that here shortly. But I wanted to bring together indie dyers who people may not have known about and small businesses who are creating beautiful stitch markers or beautiful tools and crochet hooks or scissors or all these like little pouches. And then other companies that I have like it's called the Maker's Box because it has all the Factory Girls' favorite things in it. And so on all my travels, whether it's around the world or here in the US, I come across little things that I just fall in love with and I want to share them with other people. And so there are usually non-related yarn things or fiber things in the boxes too. So I don't know, it just kind of came to be through that. And fortunately, people have loved them enough that they keep coming back or have bought subscriptions, and it means the world to me. Like every single time I get an order, I literally do a little happy dance because it was this weird brainchild that just happened on a whim, and it's just kind of evolved as things have gone on.
I'm
And I
like,
get
hello, welcome to the 12 days of Christmas, right?
yeah.
Like, I'm like, I don't
I
really
know.
know, I mean, but look, right? Isn't it about just leaping off at some point?
You have
You
to.
just can't let it go. And you're
Right.
like, shit, I'm just gonna do this.
I
And
know. And it's
the
either going to
hope
be a
that people
fail.
are gonna and I'm not trying to switch gears but I am just sort of affirming that I say the same thing every time somebody messages me or every time somebody orders. I'm like, this is not a joke. You have no idea how much I appreciate it just to know that you love this.
I
And
know.
thank you. And that's all it is, right?
Yeah, and it's so hard, like, I would love I mean, God, if I had more time in my day, if I had, like, another of me, I would reply to every single one of you every time you sent like, you placed an order for a pattern, like, you just never know, like, you design something and you love like I have to love whatever I design in order to put it out there. Otherwise, I can't do it because I can't talk to you about it and show joy if I don't like it. And but you never know if anyone else is also going to like it. So when you get that first like on Ravelry or on Instagram or an order pops in the inbox, it's like, "Oh my God, this" like honestly, every single time for the last 6 years, it's still like, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. So I adore all of you who've ever ordered anything. But
The
Makers Box,
yarn, does the yarn come like when you reach out to the indie dyer because it's a yarn that's being dyed by somebody each time. So is it their yarn, they're dyeing it? You don't provide them the yarn, right?
yeah, it's their yarn,
Okay.
but I collaborate with them on the base. So it's like so for example, my holiday box that I did this year, I did a Christmas box. And the dyer for that box was a friend of mine who is actually here in Winona too, and her name's Kimberly of Palmer Yarn Company. And anyways, so we were going through her bases that she has, and then we picked out
Gotcha.
which bases to use. And then I always have an inspiration photo for that one. It was like 4 photos for the holiday. It was the golden hour, and those were the photos, and I left it up to her, and I've always left it up to the designer. You get to dye what your you like what you see from these inspiration photos,
Mhm.
and they've all been beautiful. I'm
So
super excited.
overall, the maker's box, if I remember correctly, there's four each year, correct?
Yes, there's 4 per season, and then will add I wanna always do something special for December because there's not a so the boxes ship each season or quarter, so January for winter, April for spring, July for summer, and October for fall. And then I did a holiday box for December because some people what I the holiday box in December is not all yarn. It's a lot of other things. And
Mhm.
that way, not everybody likes a whole bunch of minis. So this was an opportunity to introduce people to a lot of different other products. So
The catch is nobody knows what they're getting.
no. So you have to have a little faith in me. And so far, I mean, knock on wood, I haven't had any complaints about anything. Um, just a bunch of, do you have a box on hand to show us? Hmm. I'm recovering from a cold, so I'm looking to see if what do I have handy to show you? Um, I don't have a box handy. I'm sorry, but I could pop a photo up on here if you guys would like. Do you want me
Yeah,
to do that, Tabitha?
I would love to see that, and also for everyone else, because honestly, I'm part of the box. I have no idea what the box looks
I
like.
know I'm not going to show the
No,
January
no, 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 no.
because I haven't even taken
And I
photos of that
assume like
yet.
a lot of the little like trinkets that I got in my gift or the things that are in the keepsake basket
There's
are
some
parts.
of the things.
Yeah, exactly. Parts of some of the things that, you
Yeah.
do tend to include. So I kind of have an idea.
Okay. So here, let's see. I can share my screen, right?
You should be able to.
I had to send a
Oh,
request.
yep, I got it. Allow.
Thank you. Okay.
Now
Photos. Can you guys see that? Can you see that?
we can, yes.
Okay. So this was the winter box. So there's this beautiful red yarn from Shelley Anderson, and shell designs. And then this box, the theme was all about like travel items. So I wanted small things because kicking off the new year, let's have some fun new makers items that you can easily travel with. So there was some neat, my favorite set and type of needles, a tiny little set of snips. Little leather heart was to hold your knitting needles together, or it can hold phone charger, cables, some flute stitch markers, a flox tool, and then this leather pouch was made by one of my friends over in England. So that was the winter box. This is the spring box.
Oh my God, it's so happy.
And this was all about new beginnings because it was springtime. So there were seeds in there, a little dish towel, some note cards, some honey, stitch markers from Margaret at Heidi and Lana. And then there were 2 skeins of yarn in there because so there were that pattern was a shawl. In each box, you also receive a knitting pattern and a crochet pattern too.
And might I say that is why I chose to wear one of my crochet designs, because
Me
I
too.
do think, at least to date, you're one of the few people that I have heard about that do embrace both, especially in a box such as this. So I really consciously put this on tonight too in celebration of that, because that was something that I wanted to talk about also.
Yes, I think I mean I learned how to crochet this last year and I enjoy it so much, and there's so many beautiful patterns out there too for that. So the summer box, the theme was summer sips, and I really embraced mocktails over the last year. And so this had some non-alcoholic bitters in it and a non-alcoholic mixed drink and just some fun little sip things. And then this was the fall box. And there was 2, so the summer box had kind of 2 minis and a fingering weight, and then this box had another fingering weight and mohair from Plies and Hellhounds. And this was all about being cozy. So, just some fun things. So that kinda gives you an idea. That was a cocktail. What other fun photos can I show you guys? But I wish so this is a photo of the yarn that was included with the holiday box. And then there was this was the knitting pattern, and then I worked with a crochet designer. We worked together to design the crochet pattern, and sadly I don't have any photos of that to show yet. I'm
Mhm.
so far behind you guys on things. It's a bummer. But here is the photo. So for the 2025 boxes, I chose the theme desert blooms for the season. Um, and I just thought that would it's just there's so many beautiful colors. You can't really see this photo very well.
No, no, we can see it perfectly.
Can you?
Yes,
You
I
can
mean, at
see
least
the
on my
fall?
end, I
Okay.
can.
Okay. The fall's kind of cut off, but um so anyways, spring or winter, spring is in the I don't know how you see this, but the spring is the one with the green and the hot
Ah,
pink.
right. Yeah.
And then the summer is like the purple, pink, and green cacti all together. And then the golden hour fall sky is the fall one. But
So talk to everybody about, and if we could get
okay.
you back on, if in terms of the screen share, then so talk to everybody about how your boxes work. Meaning, I'm pretty sure people can get on board for all four. They can get on board for one. So just because
Yeah,
obviously the winter one is already sold out, so just let people know what their options are, because I'm glad to see people are excited about it. And
me
of course,
too.
you've also given them a code. And so, you know what? I'll be so thrilled if you'll be like, oh my God, guess what? I mean, hey,
Yeah.
let's get these guys on board with what you're doing.
So the winter box is sold out, but the spring box is available right now. There's you can either purchase the boxes individually, or I have them set up where you can buy 2 at a time. So you can get the spring and summer or the summer and the fall. Um so that's how I have it set up. If anybody has suggestions, I can absolutely change that. But right now, I just have them sold through 2025. It gets complicated when I have things carry over into the next year. So, but yes, they're still available. as of
Oh,
logging
that would
on,
be, so how many boxes do you do for each season?
there's 40 per season, but there's only 12 left of the spring, and I think 20 left of summer and fall.
You guys better get going.
Yeah. So if you're interested, please grab them. And like, I don't want to, I hate pressuring people to buy stuff, but they do sell out. So if you're thinking about it, and like Sue said, it is a great gift. I had a handful of people send me notes and say, and this is another thing too. If you do want to gift it to somebody, you can either enter their address to ship it or send me a note, and I'm happy to include a little written note that's from you that's like says, "Hey, Fiber Bestie, thought you might like this," or something like that too. Just include that in your order. So,
Cool.
which one? Tabitha's box is the winter, which is no longer available.
And myself and Kimberly, right? It was the three of us. So,
Yes.
which I was gonna say,
Excuse me.
you know, so I know that you, just always so I know that you said that you met me or you remember from meeting me or seeing my booth at Chicago, which
Yeah.
I think I told you that really actually almost even over New York was my favorite Vogue Knitting Live town. You know, I have done New York, I did Chicago for several years. I drove out to Minneapolis for several years, and then we also flew out to Seattle and did that the one year. Chicago was always my favorite. I loved that hotel. I loved my location, despite the fact that it was right in front of the bathrooms. It was key, you know, because people come out of the bathroom and I'm right there.
Right
And
there.
especially with my skincare, hopefully they wash their hands, but, you know, we have little tester sticks. It's all good. But, you know, you're in a hotel which, you know, rightfully so, it wasn't huge, you know, and I feel like people were always so dry. So it was just great. But the hotel was beautiful. It was easy to get in and out of. Like, I loved the people. So I think that was 3 years worth that I was there. And I will say, I met so many great people there. I mean, that's where I made my connections with Blue Sky Fibers, and then, you know, got my little collaboration with them. So, yeah. So you said that that was where you saw me first.
Yep.
Obviously, it's taken us a little bit to like fully connect,
I know.
but, you know, so
But yeah, no, that was the very first time I was ever introduced to Long Island Yarn and Farm. And I'll never forget, like, and at that time, I was also still a new knitter too. So going to a show like that, you are just, Chicago is the closest, and you're just so overwhelmed by everything that's there. It's just amazing. But when I saw your yarns for the first time, I was like, "Oh my God, these are the softest yarns ever." Like, I love them, and they're so like the natural sheepiness, and I fell in love. And so I have this yarn cabinet next to me, and the top drawer of it has like this nice little collection of yarn that I've collected of Tabitha's over the years.
yeah.
And
Wait, did you grab any of it? Is it
well,
like
I actually grabbed this because I started this cowl like 2 years ago.
that's
And
Galaxy?
this is Galaxy. So I
Yeah,
have 3 skeins of Galaxy. And yeah, I do have, all right, I am gonna grab,
because I am sure you have like vintage up there then.
I do have quite, well, I have denim, which I bought well, not,
Okay, yeah, that's been a mainstay.
yeah. Okay, let's see, what else can I read?
I'm just personally interested. I always think it's so fun when people will like come back with stuff that they have.
I know. So I have Bellflower,
Okay.
which I don't think is that old. This might be from 2020. Oh,
That looks like
this was part of a kit for Andrea Mowry um shawl,
from where?
Nightshade,
Yeah.
American raised and spun. Oh yeah. My glasses.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay,
that's my black base. Like, and is that bulky or
board.
board? Okay, yeah, because I only
I
did.
don't even remember the name of the pattern, but it also had like, I loved it because it had this color and a light purple and then a gold yarn with it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's the one where it had the crosses.
Yes.
Yes. somebody has to help us. I cannot
So
remember.
anybody remember that pattern?
I cannot remember it at the moment.
Purple, yeah, Twilight. Is that right?
Well, that no, but I mean that's the name of my
Oh,
yarn. But the gold no, it was the golden hour shawl.
golden hour shawl. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I never do kits. Everybody knows that. But I do remember when we had that, we had our little, which I still
The
have my
little,
caddies, my little
yeah.
young caddies. Yep, exactly. So
I have,
fun.
okay, what is this one? Then this is, oh, this is from Valentine's Day of 2020.
Oh my God, is that cherry? Wait,
Cordial.
is that cherry cordial?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's like my grandpa's yarn. That's what I
It's
called it
so
because my
pretty. Oh, my face is
grandpa
getting
loved
red.
cherry cordials. Yeah, that was during COVID when we were doing a whole bunch of
Oh
different.
yeah, I bought so much yarn during COVID, you guys. Did everybody else?
Didn't everybody?
I
Oh,
swear that's all I did.
I know. Praise everybody, right? It's what kept us all going for sure. So, I mean, fast forward because really, and look, I mean, these are one of the things that I feel so blessed, but then also sometimes it makes me feel bad in the sense that, obviously you've been shopping with me and it took a little bit, to for like I'd love to call it the friendship to click, in that sense. And really we have Kimberly to thank for that.
Yeah.
So but that's what fiber and friendships and things are all about. And like now I'm locked in, so now you can't get rid of me.
That's
But
okay.
so how did you and Kimberly meet?
Well, Kimberly and I met randomly. Let's see. It would have been like I guess 2 years ago now because it's 2025. We were both I was invited to stay at the Primrose Yarn Company team's house for Rhinebeck. And there was a couple of other designers there too. And Kimberly was invited for a dinner on one of the nights. And so that's how we met.
Okay.
Randomly at a dinner. And
You
then
doing work or designing for Primrose or
I did some design work for
okay.
Kelsey and um yes. So I had done a few designs for her and then was invited, which was I mean, I so appreciated that opportunity. Because I love going to Rhinebeck. So and it was fun to meet other designers and also her staff too. So it was a good time. So yes, and then that was the first time I met Kimberly. We just had dinner together, connected on socials, and that was about it. And then we ended up staying together this past Rhinebeck and just excuse me, you guys, and just like totally hit it off. And we had a lot of time to hang out together and spend time together. And it's been amazing. And then that's how I got to know you better because I was able to spend a little bit more time in your booth at Rhinebeck. And yeah, then I just feel like we've kind of become the three amigos. So it's been
And
fun.
and I think that's the thing too is like anything else, also which Kimberly is like she's just a great human, and she got to know you better, so then that also helped me, to get to know you better. Not that I won't welcome people into my life as all the people here, have complete access to my text messaging and we chat back and forth, but from a business, standpoint, I think that also, was part of it. And then this, well, I almost just, so I can't, I was gonna be like, and then this crazy woman had me doing this, like all, pre-holiday, but I can't say what, so I almost said it,
We
but
can't say
I,
anything until a couple more weeks.
I didn't. But let me just tell you, folks, I don't do anything ahead of schedule. Nothing.
She was a
You
month
guys
ahead of
know
schedule, you guys. It was awesome.
You guys know Kimberly and I, we are goal orientated girls. Give us a deadline. We're going to bring it right to it. It's going to be great, but we're going to bring it right to it. And I was like, I cannot do this to this woman. So I was so ahead of schedule merely because I knew I needed to be careful of, supply and demand. So either way, super excited to be part of this. And, yeah, like I just I'm really excited about what it brings, for the future. Because as I always say, although I feel like I haven't said it yet for the 12 days of Christmas, maybe I have in some degree, but look, like none of us. I mean, you already have another job. This is my sole job, but like none of us are getting rich doing this. And whether some people believe in the philosophy or not, I always am going to choose to work with people I like over working with somebody just because I feel like it's going to give me some advantage. Because this is what we're doing. This is our day. This is how we're spending our days, 365 days a year. We might as well have a good time with it and surround ourselves with people that we enjoy being around, people with positive attitudes, people with great work ethic. So I just think that that's so important. And for me, the relationships that I have in work are super important. I like to like the people I work with. So I have enjoyed having the opportunity to be able to get to know you, a bit more in the recent months, really since Rhinebeck. And so much has happened, since
I
then.
know.
And, immediately that's why I asked you to be part of this. I love that you have just sort of stood up in a sea of people and said, yeah, I fell into knitting and yeah, I design. And I think that that takes a lot. I really do. And so I love that I was also like, let's do something for the 12 days of Christmas. So I know I've been like holding it back, but I make everybody wait. So the great thing is, which Kimberly does this for me, and Crystal was really great. So behind the scenes, right? We all have yarn. I'm not, I don't, I have no qualms about saying this. We all have yarn that just needs a little more love, right? There's just always yarn that's there that maybe for whatever reason you guys cannot envision how beautiful it can be or what it can turn into. And as somebody who does not have a lot of yarn, as a small base company, I am not out there chasing knitting samples. Sorry, folks. Like, you got to use your mind, you got to use your imagination. And I am so, so thankful that I have never found myself in that rat race of like, I got to knit everything, because you guys are great. You guys are great about finding your own inspiration, finding the beauty in a yarn that maybe somebody else doesn't, whether it's the blend, whether it's the color, or more importantly, if a sample is done, I have to say, yes, 9 times out of 10, people are like, I want that yarn. I will say Storming Molly was a perfect example of which Storming Molly sat on the shelves for Rhinebeck. I think one person bought one skein, and then Kimberly knitted up a second version of the Mother's Hug, and then poof, it was all gone. So I get that, but so as designing choices, Kimberly will be like, okay, like, what do you want me to focus on? What do you want me to show off? And honestly, this was a perfect example. This beautiful steel gray that has a bit more of a rustic texture to it, that was, kind of going unnoticed, but yet such a cool breed blend, as we talked about last night with Shanna. And so I was like, do it up in the lovely locks popover with the beautiful natural colored curls. I think it's a stunning combination. And folks, nobody's wearing this naked. You have clothes underneath. It's okay, right? So we were chatting and I was like, look, we got to do something, like do a pattern for me. She's like, okay, like what needs love? I was like, this beautiful black yarn, like it needs love.
Amazing.
It needs love. I know how everybody feels about black yarn. I know it's difficult. Ruth Ann, you had me in stitches today. We were chatting back and forth, and she said somewhere along the way, somebody told her that if you're going to knit with black yarn, have a white cat underneath you. And she's like, I don't have a cat, so I'm on my own with this one. So I thought that was great. But there are tricks of the trade, but I, yes, handed over 2 skeins of Moonshadow, and I was like, Crystal, just do something with it, enjoy it, let me know what you want it to be. And so now please talk to us about what you created out of it, and be honest about how it was to knit with it. What did you do to help, with the troubles that people have with dark yarn? Like, share all of it, spill the tea.
All right. So, first of all, this yarn was heavenly because it was also 100% alpaca. So it's still I'm really sad to package it up because it's just so yummy. I was wearing it in Arizona the last week during the early mornings when I was sitting outside having my coffee because it was just so nice. But anyways, I designed
And
a
I
cowl
haven't
for
seen this, mind you guys. I've
I
not seen
know.
this.
I designed a cowl. It's it has a unique kind of slip stitch pattern to it. And so first of all, it's knit in the bias. You start from one tip and knit to the end, and there is an I cord worked along the whole edge that you see, and then it's seamed together in the end to fit on you as like a nice little smaller hug compared to Kimberly's beautiful hug. But so it's just this other cowl. I'm going to grab, so to test my pattern for this one, since we did this kind of last minute, I need a second version. And I'm knitting a third version, but I needed to grab, so this will kind of, this is not in Tabitha's yarn, but it shows the stitch
Okay.
pattern off a little bit better, for you. So you can kind of see where it's a 4 stitch pattern. You knit 3, you slip 1, and then you alternate on the front side, the right side, and the wrong side. It's super simple. You'll memorize it in no time at all. But
So
it
I missed you're knitting on the bias and then you're seaming it. I
Yeah, so you can so you start, this is the back side where the seam is at,
okay.
and you start on one corner and you knit along the bias. So you increase on both sides until you get to a certain point. You get like 100 and some stitches on your needle. And then you just start increasing on one side to help create the long shape of it. And then you'll get to about 140 stitches, and then you start decreasing. So then you have your seams that your ends that match each other. And then you do an I-cord bind off for the last little bit of stitches that are left on there. This is like kind of hard to
Are
show.
you seaming it or are you provisional cast on or
Nope, you seam it.
okay. So
I
I guess part of the question that I'm just asking is
Mhm.
it also something that if somebody wanted to leave open and then use like a jewel closure or something like that, or it doesn't look good that way?
I don't think you would be able to do that because it closes on the back side, so
Okay.
that the long portion of it, um,
So
you
it's
know,
not like you'd wear it any other way.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I Where's my photos again? Let's I'm Zoom illiterate, you guys.
No, no. If you could manage to
Um,
share photos, you're even probably better than me.
let's see. Oh wait, did that show?
Well,
There.
that's it. Yep, it's on the dress form.
So there you can kind of see it on the dress form. So, oh, I guess this doesn't really show the. Everybody gets to see my pictures. Oh, want to see my crazy mom. She would kill me if I showed you guys that. But here's when I was working on this one. So you increase on both sides and you kind of create a little bit of a triangle shape. And
Hmm.
then you start to create your bias where you have your I cord on both ends. So then you create your nice little long dip here that you have. And then you decrease to create your other seamed edge, which, all right, I gotta stop sharing. Where
And then
you,
I was going to say, just to answer a question. So, yes,
yeah,
guys, the pattern is available on Ravelry if you want to purchase it, or if you
yeah.
purchase uh, a minimum of 400 yards of fingering from me, then we gift you the pattern and then Um, I compensate Crystal. At the same time, like I know earlier, Ruth Ann grabbed another skein of Moon Shadow, and I was like, "Hey, don't forget that's only 200 yards because mine is usually 400 yards." She's like, "No, no, no, I already have one." So look, if you guys just tell me you've already got something in stash, I'm certainly happy to still gift it because I want to support Crystal in any which way. At the same time, if you have your own fingering weight yarn in stash, that's at least 400 yards, then yes, you can absolutely go
Mhm.
purchase the pattern from her. I know Erin's been dropping the links in, so it's you've got options for sure.
Yeah, there's so many options for this. And like Tabitha said earlier, I did grab one of Shanna's yarns earlier today because
You grabbed the Noel, so you grabbed the green fingering
I
weights.
grabbed the green fingering and that was 400 yards. So I only need one to finish this. And with the 400, you do have a little bit of leftover, so you have enough to see. Like you don't have to worry about if you swatch it or even if you want to make it a little bit wider or something. And if you ever have questions on any of my patterns about how to modify it for whatever need you're looking for, just shoot me a note. I'll definitely get back to you with suggestions and recommendations. So to help you find whatever fit, whether it's an accessory or like adjusting a shawl or a cowl or a sweater. But knitting with this yarn, back to that, it was heavenly, you guys. I This was amazing. It was so good. And the one thing I did, it was hard to knit at nighttime because it's winter now, so it's dark when I go to work and it's dark when we come home. So my mom gave me, she found at a yarn shop those Lumos lights that you wear around your neck and they kind of help shine on your work. So I have my knitting light next to me and then I had those on so that I could like see what I was doing. Because the other thing is in the wintertime, I love to have all the lights down low so I can enjoy my Christmas tree lights and what other twinkle lights I have going around. So, but it wasn't bad and it was super easy to knit on during the when there was like daylight light.
Do you
So
put anything underneath you to provide a contrast, or you don't need to?
I didn't, but I could definitely see that as being like using a white blanket or having a white towel or something like that as like being beneficial to help too. But
I
I
think the
did.
nice thing too is, and not sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
is like obviously you've done it in a solid. And look, in a darker color, we all know that maybe you're not always going to see the detail of the particular, especially in this way versus being up close. But at the same time, depending on your wardrobe, like black is totally, all of
Goes
those
with
colors
everything.
are so my thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you went with a variegated yarn or something like that, as the sample you showed, I think
Mhm.
what's great about that is it's gonna work well with whatever yarn you have in your stash or whatever yarn you choose.
It really it will. It'll work well. I added mohair to this fingering one because I wanted it to be fuzzy like my alpaca one that I have to give away. Um
Like three
but
times she said that.
I probably if they I mean, I really just need to make my own in the moon shadow for myself too. Because this is to me, this is like a perfect accessory. I love things with pops of color, but I also like I wore this on New Year's Eve because it was black, it went with my outfit, it was cold at night, and it just dressed things up. It was perfect. So it's a great accessory piece. Plus, if you notice when you look at my patterns, if you ever do, I love cowls. It's my favorite accessory to make because it's one of those things I can have in any single bag wherever I go, and I can throw it on if I'm get a chill. It's like that easy accessory that's just easy. Like a shawl, I feel like I have to style right, and if I'm not wearing the right jacket, it doesn't quite tuck in the right ways. So a cowl is my go-to. But
And I love, everybody knows I love a good turtleneck. Even tonight, I had just a scoop neck, sweater on with a t-shirt underneath. And I was literally trying to find the biggest, fluffiest thing that I could like wrap around my neck because that's what I love. But again, I did grab this crochet piece because I kind of wanted to pay homage to the fact that you do really support both, in your boxes, which I think is so cool. Which, by the way, I talked to Kimberly like 2 times today because of things going on. And then she was just like, hey, so basically, I can't say, but I need to send her more yarn. So, actually, she already has yarn. So she's going to be doing up
you're
another
gonna make
sample of what she did for you. Like, so I can't really say much more than
perfect.
so.
Well, we can say Kimberly was the designer for the winter box. So she designed both the knitting and the crochet pattern. So I'm super excited about
Yeah,
that because
yeah.
I love what she does.
Well,
So
and I just honestly think it's great that you do embrace both. I always feel terrible when somebody comes to shop and I have so few crochet patterns, one of which is Kimberly's. And yet at the same time, I appreciate crocheters that still want to embrace the yarn, knowing that they can go and do whatever they want to do with it. But I think it's absolutely inclusive, that you've added both, in your boxes. And I know that takes extra effort for sure. So I think that's great. So yeah, so, you came up in conversation again today, with regards to that. So it's been a great, collaboration. The one thing I want to ask when I go back to the turtleneck thing. So for instance, I love a cowl that's going to choke me. Like I like turtlenecks, I like things. So do you feel like there's flexibility with the pattern? Like let's say if somebody doesn't want something so close and they want it a little drapier, which personally I'm like, why are we wearing a cowl? It's not a necklace, but you do you. So is there a way to, like, if somebody was going to modify it or do it on a bigger needle, like to perhaps make it a little looser for them? I feel like that's a question people might ask.
yeah, so to for sure going up a needle size, 1 or 2 needle sizes is gonna give you a broader fit here. The other part, and I don't have this in the pattern at the moment, but you can also work one of the sections a bit longer so that you have more stitches across the top of your,
Mhm.
cowl. So and I can easily add a note in there on how to do that, but
I just
it
felt like it was something, that
yeah.
I feel like the neck thing is very polarizing. Some people either love it or hate it.
Yeah, well, it's just like knitting a sweater too. Like some of these necks, if you don't have, I've noticed it on some of my even my own patterns that I've had to go back and correct it where it's like, oh man, that neck keeps riding up on me. And I I had thyroid surgery a few years ago and I'm very like I have this tiny little scar that you can't even see, but I don't like things rubbing on it because then it makes it red, and so I have a thing about, "Okay, I gotta have my sweater down here," but, yeah, it's everybody's different. It can
Yeah,
feel claustrophobic to have things really close to your neck, so,
yeah.
there's always fixes for it, for sure.
Good, good, good. Well, I mean,
Oh,
I,
wait, you
yeah.
have to ask me a question about that, um,
Oh,
that
the
Jane
marching
Cat.
band. Wait,
Yeah,
what? Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay, yeah, yeah. Thank you. See, that's why I told you in the beginning
'Cause
before.
I'm like, "Wait, I think you might be wrapping this up," which I know
Well,
I
yes and no,
appreciate you
except
also being
I
on
feel
here for so
like
long.
I was gonna say, trust me, I said last night, I'm like, this should be getting shorter and shorter, and it just keeps getting longer and longer because I just keep having more and more fun with it. And I'm like debating about what sort of rabbit hole I want to get into about, some things that we've talked about. And so either way, yes. So somebody said, I don't know, tell me, somebody said they know that you were in a marching band back in college. And so, what marching band was that, and what instrument did you play?
I one, I am, like, totally flattered that anybody knows that because that either means you saw something on Instagram or you read my newsletter. Because I think those are one of the only 2 places I've shared that. Maybe I've shared it more, I don't know. But when I was in co so I'm a marching band geek. I've been in marching band since I was in the 5th grade, and
I was in the marching band too, just letting you know.
I loved it. But when I went away to college, I went to St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, Indiana. It's an all women's college across the street from Notre Dame. And while I was prepping to go to college, all of a sudden I saw in the stuff that was like, "Oh, I can audition for the Notre Dame marching band. That sounds kind of cool." And so I went to college and I auditioned, and I will tell you to this, oh, you know what? I did talk about it in my Vlogmas too this year. It was the hardest thing to this day. I said this at that time that I have ever done was band camp, the very first band camp going into my freshman year of college. Hardest thing. Every time we got a break, my mom would come pick me up. She took me to college to begin with for the beginning part of this, and my family came down later. I would cry. I was like, "Mom, this is so hard. I can't do it. I don't know anybody. I'm not meeting anybody. I hate it. I can't do it." And I'll never forget, we were at Quiznos having lunch, and she had a talk with me, and she's like, if you don't stick it out, you'll never know and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And anyways, I stuck it out to this day. Oh, that's how it, thank you, Julie. And that is the hardest thing, but I made it. I made it into the marching band. And my roommates were amazing. They'd only known me for 2 days and they rode the bus over to Notre Dame with me to go look at the sheet, like you're in an audition and like it's my name on there. And it was. I was so happy.
So what did you play?
I played the clarinet.
Oh,
Did you?
not in the Notre Dame marching
Oh
band,
no.
but I played the clarinets.
Yeah. No, clarinet. I was the clarinet. I was a net. Oh my God, so much fun. So yeah, it was a good time. It was the best 4 years. It was the best thing I've ever. It was the best thing I ever did, you guys. It was crazy. I met so many people. Those are my closest friends from college today, and I got to travel because I got to go to bowl games. It was just really cool. I think I did. Oh, that's so cool, Erin. Her dad plays
Yeah,
the
and
clarinet.
everybody, some other people, Julie says she knew it. Beth NG
Yeah.
said me too.
So fun. Yeah, that's right. I brought that. So, like, I did a Vlogmas this year for the first time, which was totally on a whim and one of another hard thing to do because to take the time to sit and think about like through your day, like, oh, I should probably record this. Oh, I might record that might be
I,
good feedback for in the it was hard.
I
And
cannot. I'm telling you, I went to Kimberly's for like a, well, one to get away, and two to just be like, all right, I got to see how you do this because I, half the time I think it's because I'm just rushing through my damn day, everything I do, that I don't stop to be like, oh, let me set up a tripod or let me catch this. So
I feel
honestly,
so carrying a tripod everywhere I go. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I
But it
think my
was a lot of fun.
resolution is going to be I'm just going to slap a damn GoPro to my head and then just like wander around that way. So you'll have like the POV because that's about
Yeah.
all I can manage.
It was fun. Um, to answer Sherry's question, I can still play, but I do not play. I've thought about joining like our municipal band, but I just don't have the time right now.
I was
I would
just
love
about to say, where are you going to add one more thing in?
I can't. I can't. It'd be so much fun. But yes, I did break it. My high school band teacher, when he retired, they did like a Mr. Holland's Opus where they brought all of us kids back to play.
Oh,
And I could still play. And then for at Notre Dame, we do have an alumni band reunion weekend, and I go back for that and march on the field and play. So like every 4 years I break it out. It's hard, but I still got it. So
I love it. I love
but
it.
yeah. So yeah, that's right. That came up because I was talking about going back to campus
Yeah.
for the football game. My Notre Dame, I don't know if any of you are college football fans or your partners maybe too, but I had gone back to campus for the first round of the college football playoffs and it was fun because I got to see the band. I included that in our vlog in my vlogmas and then last night we played in the Sugar Bowl. I was obviously home. And then next week they play in the Orange Bowl. And I'm trying to figure out a way if I can go, but I just can't. I have too much going on. But if we win next week, I might bite the bullet and head down to the national championship. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it, but maybe. So, oh, Aaron, you're in Louisiana. Oh, are you? I hope you and everyone you know is okay after what happened this week. So, um, but yeah, I don't know. That's one fun fact. Do you guys want to know another fun fact about me? Another weird thing?
Yes.
This I don't think I've ever shared. I grew up
I
racing.
like exclusive here, folks.
Yeah, exclusive on 12 Days of Christmas. Grew up racing go-karts.
Oh my God. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, you and I talked about Barrett Jackson. Dude,
Yeah.
I grew up racing go-karts too because my
Did
dad
you
was a
really?
race car driver.
That's always been my dream. I still think I might be able to do it.
my gosh, you have no idea. That was my childhood. My dad did quarter mile drag strip. So then for my 8th birthday, I got a racing go kart. I remember because he pulled off the governor so that instead of running, like I could run like a different, there's 2 cycles, 4 cycles.
Right.
And there was me, like, and at the racetrack, there was a go kart track in the back. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make it about me, but my dad's race car was Godzilla. So my go kart was Godzuki because that was the little baby Godzilla.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea. My dad was a go-kart racer around the Midwest, and then he's like, "Which of you girls want to do this too?" And we're like, "Yeah." So,
Exactly.
yeah, it was a family thing.
How long did you do it for?
Just a couple of years because right I did it for 2 years leading up into high school, and then high school happened, and then there was, like, we wanted to do sports and be in band and do the plays and, like, all that stuff, and my dad's like, "You either race karts or we give up karts and you do all the other stuff," and we chose all the other stuff, so but, yeah, I go to the Indy 500 every single year. I've been going for 38 years, so
Well, so how was your dad and how did the whole Barrett Jackson thing come in? Because is that just
oh,
something you're,
because he
yeah,
loves
I mean, we talked
cars.
about that because nobody,
Yeah.
I will tell you a funny story. I was somewhere and somebody was shopping in my booth and it was one of the, that was her last name. And I was like, and I knew she was from like Texas and so when she handed me her card, which was like, I don't remember if it was black or silver, but it was heavy as shit. So you know what that means. And she slaps the card down, and I'm like, I just had to look, and she was a Barrett Jackson, and I'm like,
Oh,
I looked at her, and I was like, I have to ask, and she was like, oh my god, nobody ever knows that. I was like, oh.
that's crazy. Yeah, so my mom and dad love cars, and my mom especially loves pedal cars, and she collects them, and my dad has collected cars and restored cars for years and has, like, a big sign like, all kinds of they have a lot of s stuff. They love it, and so we go to Bear Jackson every year, and they go yes, it's gonna be here in, like, 3 weeks, I think, Amy.
Yeah,
Um, so I love watching it too, Sherry. It's if I can't be there, I'm literally glued to the TV for, like, 4 days watching cars go across an auction block,
yep, yep.
but it's fun. We've sold stuff, we've bought stuff there. Last year my dad had a car that sold there, and then I guess it's gonna cross the auction block again this year. And my dad was funny. He's like, "God, I hope he doesn't make more money than I did." Or like, dad really didn't make money on it. He like broke even, but he's like, "Man, I hope he doesn't make any money because it'd make him feel bad." But it's such a cool thing. But no, racing has been part of my life. Like, my mom went to the Indy 500 while she was pregnant with me, and I feel like because of that, that's why I love racing and cars so much.
I, I like honestly, I've got to dig out some pictures because, of course, like
I
my dad,
wanna see.
somewhere along the way, he was like, I mean, I don't think he wished he had a boy. It was funny when you were talking about growing up with your parents' business and helping when you were little and stuff. Like, I was pumping gas when I was little, like huffing gas fumes because my dad owned a gas station. But I was like, the old credit card machine. And so I grew up as a track brat, but I was a girl and my dad was a boy and he had no idea how to do my hair and I would be like on the road with him for days and I have pictures with like these lopsided ass ponytails just looking like, who knows what. But
Oh,
those were
fun.
like my favorite favorite times. So
There's so much yeah, like, camping and turning gears, and it was yeah, that's what we did. It was a
yeah,
good
I would
time.
run down to the end of the strip to grab my dad's pink slip and then ride back on the return road. That was like my most favorite thing to do ever. So, and of course,
Oh, that's
people are like,
awesome.
what the hell is she talking about? But I am just completely like geeking out. It's amazing. If I didn't love you before, I love you so much more now.
Oh, this is fun. The things we learn. I mean, I love this. Like, there's so many of you that have
Yeah.
into all these things.
I
So
mean,
it's
and, you know, and again, that is what the 12 Days of Christmas is all about. I don't know where I came up with the idea. It has evolved into this. Yes, it's about knitting. We're all here because of, you know, fiber and textiles and knitting and the love of the animals and the whole thing. But, you know, how fun to also just get to know people and share experiences. And there's so many that we've had, you know, this year, and the funny things that come out of it. I mean, again, from a couple New Year's Eve conversation, you know, Girl Scout cookies was the big thing, and you know, it's kind of carried on from there. If I have one more person that tells me they love Thin Mints over Samoas, you're not going to be my people anymore. Wait, which one? All right, Crystal, which is, well, now that I just said, but what's
you
your favorite?
see that in all total truth before you would even said that. Samoa's is my favorite. Dosi Do's is my second favorite.
I was gonna say, Linda said she does love the do-si dos, but she can't buy them because she would eat them all. I'm like,
Oh, I'd
well,
eat a whole box.
Samoa's is a single serving box. There's not that many in there.
I
Come
know.
on.
I always thought they were single serving, right?
So, you know, again, like this is just you know, again, this is just what it's all about, is getting to know people, you know, the funny, weird things. And I
Yeah.
know that everybody enjoys that. And so again, I would have had not any idea, but this has just been an absolute blast for sure. I'm like, my eyes are tearing. And I love seeing everybody, you know, again, chiming in for different things, whether it's the clarinet or even somebody else was saying about the go-kart racing and car shows. And, you know, we're all connected in so many different ways. And I think it's just really, really cool for us to find that, whether we live in different places, whether we have different beliefs, you know, all different ages. I mean, whatever it is, we all have a common bond, and that's why we're all here. And we need to
Mhm.
remember that all the time. And as we move into the new year, you know, for sure. I'm equally, you know, looking forward to, you know, doing other things with you. I know there's a conversation that we all need to go back to for sure. Kimberly's exact words were, "She'll get it done." I'm like, well, we need to do
Oh,
it. So, you know, we have to chat about that, you know.
we'll get it done. And I do have another pattern coming out soon. I just ran out of time. There's
One, you just dropped one right before mine.
no, I didn't. I never dropped it.
Oh, wait, the
The
one,
gingham cowl with the 3
oh, you
colors.
didn't.
No, I ran out of time.
And I'm so sorry that I didn't follow. So please, because this, no
You
offense,
weren't paying
it's got
attention.
my yarn in it too. I'm so sorry. I was late for my deadline on that one.
You were late. You know, you were fine because I'm late now. There's a special tutorial. So I have another cowl coming out that uses 3 colors of yarn, and it's so pretty. I'm so excited for it.
You have it?
I wanted it to
Oh,
be
you can't show it.
well, I would show it, but it's actually in my car. I still have a suitcase down there that I forgot to bring up tonight. Um, So and it's in that suitcase and not the one I have in here, but it's a 3-color cowl, but it uses you graft with 2 colors, and I need to create a tutorial for that, and that's why I haven't dropped the pattern, 'cause I haven't with everything else going on in my work, with the year end, I just didn't have time to do it. So
But
that
it,
is
I mean, she grabbed three skeins of sport from me, and the cool thing
yeah,
is, like, it's gingham. I feel like I've not, like, it's gingham. It
it's
looks
gingham. I
so
feel like
cool.
I haven't seen anything like it either,
No,
so
me neither. Me
I'm
neither, for sure.
I'm excited for it.
And again, I will just tell you, everybody, she embraced breed specific yarn. So just gonna say that.
It's dreamy, but I love breed. I love that. You guys, I love Tabitha's yarn. I've always loved that, just that
But the ones
natural
that you
feel.
grabbed for this cowl are different. Definitely
They
more
are, they're all
rustic.
different.
It's more like, yeah, I think there was like, yeah, and they were all each a little bit different, but you definitely grabbed some breed specific, some rustic. And honestly, because I think I was also like, please just love this. Like,
I know you're like, Try this one. It has like bamboo and something else." I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." But
embrace
yeah.
it all. But yeah,
Oh, it's
so I mean, look, so here's the thing, guys. If you're not following Crystal on Instagram, Facebook, are you Factory Girl Designs on both of them?
mhm.
And then
I'm reading one of
I knew you were. I knew you were.
I'm
Dawn.
reading.
That's Dawn. She has a sense of humor. So she said it earlier and I saw it and I didn't
I
have
know, I saw it earlier and then I
to.
was like, "Wait, I think I misread that."
That's like, you know what we always say when we buy llamas at auction, these are good auctions, not like terrible auctions. And then they come with a halter. We're like, we just paid $3,000 for that llama halter, because you get a llama with a free halter. So
Right.
absolutely, I get the joke. But so biggest things is for people to subscribe because I do get your newsletter as well. I'm assuming because I don't remember. Do they just go to your website
If
and
you go
subscribe
to my
there?
website, you're able to sign up for my newsletter. It'll either be a pop-up or it'll be at the bottom of the first page. It depends on if you've been on there before or not. And you do get couple special free things when you sign up too. Over the course of a couple of days, you'll get some different emails introducing me. And but yeah, so from oh, Amy, you're so sweet. I'm so excited. And but you can grab patterns from Ravelry or from my website and they're all there. But if you sign up for the newsletter, that's the best because I don't bombard you. I might send one once a week, otherwise it's every other week and I always try to include lots of other information in there instead of just like here's my pattern, buy it. Like I like to include other people's things that are happening, knit alongs that might be happening. I included Tabitha and Kimberly's wreath making class, like just to help something might catch your eye that you may not be looking for or you didn't realize was out there. And it's all about creating community and sharing other people too, because we have so many amazing people in the fiber industry. So
Now, before we lose too many, which again, I got to tell you, you guys
I
are
know.
amazing. So here we go. I'm pretty much almost at 2 hours.
Thank
So
you.
who knows? By the time we get to the wrap up party, again, I'm going to challenge Joe Rogan and have you guys on for 3 hours. Just kidding. But Alex will be going home at that point. So who knows? But I mean, we're still holding strong. I mean, it says 43, two of us, we're basically still at 40,
You guys are amazing.
which is amazing. Yes, Kimberly, now I was gonna say I knew your name was familiar. So let's have you pick a number from 1 to 40, and then we'll go from there.
Sophie, what number should we pick? We're gonna pick 4 because that's her
Oh,
birthday.
and I will say you're probably the first person that didn't, which is fine. I don't care. Usually everyone's like got me in the middle or I count up backwards. So that's all right. Let me get no, no, and that's you. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's Beth NG. And
Yeah.
it's legit. I mean, I'm just going by my participant list. So Beth NG, as we lovingly know you because of your Zoom name. So you now have a $20 store credit
Yay.
on your account with us. That will go in after the 12 days of Christmas. And then remember that will show up once your rewards points are available after each quarter. Again, for those of you guys that are new to us, we do have a rewards program. So every time you shop with us, you get 5% cash back in the form of store credit. Your best bet is to make sure you create an account because then it will show up and tell you what you have. You can choose to use it or not. And then we do not wipe them out after every quarter. It can roll over throughout the year. So we started new in December and then it will continue on through to the end of November. Even if you're a guest, we do get that stuff in there for you, but you just don't like see it. So that's why we ask you to create an account. We're not doing anything else with it otherwise. I don't have time to do anything else with it otherwise. So just to kind of get everybody in the know. So Crystal, as we're kind of like wrapping up for the sake of like I gotta get myself organized here and head off at some godly hour to get to the airport by 6 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What like so I mean what did we not share? What do you want to get across? What do you want to leave us with?
No, Sophie's getting feisty, so this is the perfect time to wrap
And I
up.
know, I will say too, I know Erin has been dropping in the chat, so everybody
Yes.
knows about everything I've got for them. They know everything you've got for them. We've had such great feedback, and I know I will continue to share with you what I get in my DMs. But, what
Mm.
do you want to leave us with?
You know, I don't know. But I will say this, I so appreciate you, Tabitha and Jill and all of your team because you guys are just amazing. You do so much for all of your customers, and I've been a customer for a while, so I've been on that side of things in addition as being a designer too, which has been a lot of fun so far. But thank you for putting this together. I am honored to be on here and to meet all of you that have joined us live tonight and anyone who's joining us later on. And I just it's wonderful to share my story, and it's so fun to meet all of you, and I hope you come and join the Factory Girl side of things too, and we can continue the conversation and continue sharing and learning from each other. So, thank you.
And I look forward to continuing to work with you as well. I look forward to getting you to fly your butt out here since you have to fly all the way everywhere else. Then
Mm.
hopefully we can get you to this side of the world at some point. Do I dare ask, weren't you contemplating maybe coming to Vogue Knitting Live?
I was, but it's just I was gonna make the decision over the holidays, and I just have we're just really busy at work right now, and I just feel guilty leaving, so I can't. I will be at Rhinebeck in October, but I want to figure out we have to figure out a time. I wanna come in the spring or the summer and just make a dedicated trip and come out east and come visit you and others and Kimberly and other people, so yeah.
Well, let's shoot for something for the summer because I pretty much die in the spring, of
I
course. I'm
know.
all around for
Yeah.
sharing and the
You're
Share
right.
and Share tour. But regardless, we will continue to work on that. Let's continue to keep in touch behind the scenes. To
For sure.
everybody that has been with us this evening, I know you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And it just was a lot of fun. So I can't thank you enough. So I know it's not goodbye for me, but again, everyone, I'm going to be so excited to get feedback from Crystal to see how many of you have jumped on board with her. And please take the time to show her the love. We, whether these are our sole careers or our side careers, we do this because we love this. And getting your feedback, hearing from you, as we've already said, really, really means way more than you know.
I love that sticker, thank you.
All
All
right,
right.
guys. Everybody have
Bye,
a great
everyone.
evening. Much love to everyone. Thank you so much,
Thank
Crystal.
you.
Bye.
Bye.